Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudin Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhakti Naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 24, the renunciation of Kartamuni, text number 34 onwards. Asmabhi pracheyadya patim prajanam tvayavatirnan uttapta kamaha parivrajat padavim masthito aham charishyet tvam priti yunjan vishokha. Today I have something to ask from you, who are the Lord of all living entities, since I have now been liberated from you by my debts to my father, and since all my desires are fulfilled, I wish to accept the order of an itinerant mendicant. Renouncing this family life, I wish to wander about, free from lamentation, thinking always of you in my heart. So this is a way to approach the Lord actually. First glorify Him, pray to Him, and then put in our request, a spiritual request, not the material. But even material also, though for all of us. But Kardamuni has no material desires. And look at his desire. He says, I just want to wander about free from lamentation, like a mendicant. I want to accept the order of an itinerant mendicant, a beggar. On one hand, he has the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his son. He has created this aerial mansion which could fly all over the universe. He has the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, so beautiful daughter of Swayambhuva Manu as his wife. Just imagine his position, but still he says, I want to roam around like a beggar. I want to renounce everything. Just imagine the height of renunciation he has in his heart. Actually, sannyas or renunciation of material household life necessitates complete absorption in Krishna consciousness and immersion in the self. One does not take sannyas, freedom from family responsibility in the renounced order of life, to make another family or to create an embarrassing transcendental fraud in the name of sannyas. So it's not that one becomes frustrated from family life and then he leaves and takes sannyas and go to some holy place and make a family again. That's not the purpose of sannyas. The sannyasi's business is not to become proprietor of so many things and amass money from the innocent public. A sannyasi is proud that he is always thinking of Krishna within himself. Of course, there are two kinds of devotees of the Lord. One is called Goshti Anandi, which means that those who are preachers and have many followers for preaching the glories of the Lord, and who live among those many followers due to just to organize missionary activities. Other devotees are called Atmanandi or self-satisfied and do not take the risk of preaching work. They remain therefore alone with God. In this classification was Kardamuni. He wanted to be free from all anxieties and remain alone within his heart with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Parivraja means an itinerant mendicant. A mendicant sannyasi should not live anywhere for more than 3 days. He must be always moving because his duty is to move from door to door and enlighten people about Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada says, sannyasi's big business is not to become proprietor of so many things and amass money and just live comfortable life. Sannyasis means one who goes out and preaches. But Prabhupada said there are two kinds of sannyasi. One is called Goshti Anandi. Goshti means to preach, to talk about Krishna, to glorify Krishna. And they take pleasure in that. But even in that preaching work, so sannyas, first of all, sannyas doesn't mean just changing the color of the cloth. Sannyas means in the heart one was always thinking about Krishna. That is one quality. Now Goshti Anandi, he preaches also to others. Prabhupada, why is he giving the example? Because he himself was a Goshti Anandi preacher, sannyasi. Of course, Prabhupada was more than just a sannyasi. Which means those who are preachers and have many followers for preaching the glories of the Lord. And then second is our Atmanandi, or self-satisfied. Means they don't go out and preach, but they just make one hut somewhere and they just live in that hut. Or they might be roaming around going to places of pilgrimage, but no preaching. They hardly preach. So Karda Muni wanted to be that kind of sannyasi. He didn't want to do any preaching, he just wanted to be satisfied in himself. Which is fine, which is also sannyas. But this is also another point, a sannyasi should not live anywhere for more than 3 days. Because he can get attached to that place. In fact, it was said that 6 Goswamis, when they were living in Vrindavan, they would not even sleep under the same tree 2 nights in a row. They would sleep under the trees in Vrindavan, but not the same tree 2 nights in a row, because they thought we might get attached to the tree and to the comfort that the tree is giving. That is real sannyas actually. We can't even imagine doing that. And all these 6 Goswamis, like Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, they were the ministers in the kingdom of Nawab Hussain Shah. Jiva Goswami was their nephew. Again, very, very rich and respectable families they came from. Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, he was the son of a very well-known Brahminical family from South India. And after his parents passed away, he just joined Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu asked him to go to Vrindavan to live with Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami, he was the only descendant, only heir to the great fortune of his father and his uncle. At that time, over 530 years ago, that his father's income was 1 lakh gold coins a month. In today's age, it's like multi-billionaire. He was the only son in the family, and he left everything. And then Gopal Bhatta Goswami, no, Gopal Bhatta was from South India. Raghunath Bhatt. I'm getting mixed up here. Yeah, Raghunath Bhatt was from, his father was Tapan Mishra and from Bangladesh. They were in Bangladesh and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went there. And then Mahaprabhu asked his father to come to Banaras. So from Banaras, Raghunath Bhatt, he joined Mahaprabhu. And of course, Mahaprabhu also sent him to Vrindavan. And he was again big scholar and wonderful cook. And he used to make the dresses for the deities, dress the deities very nicely, do wonderful deity worship. So all these Goswamis, they were scholars, they were wonderful devotees, and they were from very well respected families. But when they they were advanced, so much advanced in bhakti that they would sleep under different trees every night, not even attached to the tree or to anything material. So that is the standard of sannyas or renunciation they had. And not just sleeping under the trees. The idea was so minimize their bodily requirements. And the sleeping was also what, how much? Half an hour, 1 hour, maybe at the most. And minimize the bodily requirements. So they could chant more, they could write the books, they could preach to people. That was their whole idea. And excavate the pastime places of Radha and Krishna. Text 35. Shri Bhagwan Uvacha Maya Proktam hi lokasya pramanam satya lokike athajani maya tubhyam yadvoch mritam mune. The personality of Godhead, Kapila said, whatever I speak, whether directly or in the scriptures, is authoritative in all respects for the people of the world. O Muni, because I told you before that I would become your son, I have descended to fulfill this truth. Garda Muni was to leave his family to completely engage in the service of the Lord. But since he knew that the Lord himself as Kapiladeva had taken birth in his home as his own son, why was he preparing to leave home to search out self-realization or God-realization? God himself was present in his home. Why should he leave home? Such a question may certainly arise. But here it is said that whatever is spoken in the Vedas and whatever is authority and whatever is practiced in accordance with the injunctions of the Vedas is to be accepted as authoritative in society. Vedic authority says that a householder must leave home after his 50th year. Pancha Shodham Vanambajet. One must leave his family life and enter the forest after the age of 50. This is an authoritative statement of the Vedas based on the division of social life into 4 departments of activity: Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. Garda Muni practiced yoga very rigidly as a brahmachari before his marriage, and he became so powerful and attained so much mystic power that his father, Brahma, ordered him to marry and beget children as a householder. Gardam did that also. He begot 9 good daughters and 1 son, Kapila Muni, and thus his householder duty was also performed nicely. And now his duty was to leave. Even though he had the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as a son he had to respect the authority of the Vedas. This is a very important lesson. Even if one has God in his home as a son, one should still follow the Vedic injunctions. It is said, Mahajano yena jatah sapantha. One should traverse the path which is followed by great personalities. So even if Garda Muni hadn't left the home because his son is there with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so it was his duty to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It would still have been okay. But he wanted to set an example so that everybody should not be able to claim that, oh, my son is there, my son is as good as God, so I can remain at home. So he wanted to set an example. Of course, in Kali Yuga, even that is not possible. Kali Yuga is a different age. Garda Muni's example is very instructive, for in spite of having the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his own son, he left home just to obey the authority of the Vedic injunctions. Garda Muni states here the main purpose of his leaving home while traveling all over the world as a mendicant. He would always remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart and thereby be freed from all the anxieties of material existence. So this is the crux of taking sannyas. So if somebody can do that, then he's as good as a sannyasi, even if he's living at home. because he's not attached to anything material. Only thing he is attached to is Krishna. Krishna's name, Krishna's service, Krishna's smaranam, Krishna bhajanam, Krishna kirtanam, everything related to Krishna. In this age of Kali Yuga, sannyas is prohibited because persons in this age are all Shudras and cannot follow the rules and regulations of sannyas life. It is very commonly found that so-called sannyasis are addicted to nonsense, even to having private relationships with women. This is the abominable situation in this age. Although they dress themselves as sannyasis, they still cannot free themselves from the four principles of sinful life, namely illicit sex life, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. Since they are not freed from these four principles, they are cheating the public by posing as swamis. So that is why in Kali Yuga sannyas is prohibited, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself said that also. But in ISKCON or in Gaudiya Math, we give sannyas, and also not just Gaudiya Math, Shri Sampradaya also, they are famous for giving sannyas, Shankaracharya Sampradaya. But why they can give? Because the idea is they train up the people who are taking sannyas that they should not commit any illicit activities. Because sannyas order is a very responsible and very respected order. Everybody looks up to sannyasis. And if their character, their behavior is not up to the mark, then it leaves a bad taste in the society. So then the society will not believe in any, even in a genuine sannyasi. Just like, actually it all started with, some say it started with Ravan and some say it started with Indra. Indra also took the form of a sannyasi and he disrupted the yajna of Prithu Maharaj. And that story will come later. But Ravan's story, everybody knows. He took the form of a sannyasi and he kidnapped Sita. So in the form, because sannyasis are respected, even still in Vedic culture, sannyasis are very much respected. So they should be above any kind of illicit activities. So in Kali Yuga it is difficult, that's why it is prohibited. But those who still can follow, they should take sannyas. In Kali Yuga, the injunction is that no one should accept sannyas. Of course, those who actually follow the rules and regulations must take sannyas. Generally, however, people are unable to accept sannyas life. And therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stressed, Kalo nastev, nastev, nastev gatiranyata. In this age, there is no other alternative, no other alternative, no other alternative than to chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. The main purpose of sannyas life is to be in constant companionship with the Supreme Lord, either by thinking of Him within the heart or hearing of Him through oral reception. In this age, hearing is more important than thinking, because one's thinking may be disturbed by mental agitation. But if one concentrates on hearing, he will be forced to associate with the sound vibration of Krishna. Krishna and the sound vibration Krishna are non-different. So if one loudly vibrates Hare Krishna, he will be able to think of Krishna immediately. This process of chanting is the best process of self-realization in this age. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya preached it so nicely for the benefit of all humanity. So finally, Prabhupada comes down to this point that ultimate point is to hear the name of Krishna, to chant the name of Krishna. Even thinking in Kali Yuga is very difficult because we have no control over our mind. So hearing Hearing. If we stress on hearing, slowly, 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 it can come to the point of thinking constantly. And the hearing of what? Hearing of the holy names of the Lord. एतन्मे जन्म लोके अस्मिन् मुमुक्षुणां दुराशया प्रसंख्यानाय तत्त्वानां sammamatayatma-darshane. My appearance in this world is especially to explain the philosophy of Sankhya, which is highly esteemed for self-realization by those desiring freedom from the entanglement of unnecessary material desires. Here the word durashayat is very significant. Dura refers to trouble or dukkha, miseries. Ashayat means from the shelter. We conditioned souls have taken shelter of the material body, which is full of troubles and miseries. Foolish people cannot understand the situation, and this is called ignorance, illusion, or the spell of Maya. Human society should very seriously understand that the body itself is a source of all miserable life. Modern civilization is supposed to be making advancement in scientific knowledge. But what is this scientific knowledge? It is based on bodily comforts only. Without knowledge that however comfortably one maintains his body, the body is destructible. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Antvantime Deha. These bodies are destined to be destroyed. Nityasyukta Sharirana refers to the living soul or the living spark within the body. That soul is eternal, but the body is not eternal. For our activity, we must have a body. Without a body, without sense organs, there is no activity. But people are not inquiring whether it is possible to have an eternal body. Actually, they aspire for an eternal body because even though they engage in sense enjoyment, that sense enjoyment is not eternal. They are therefore in want of something which they can enjoy eternally, but they do not understand how to attain that perfection. Sankhya philosophy, therefore, as stated here and by Kapil Dev, is Tattvana. The Sankhya philosophy system is designed to afford understanding of the real truth. What is that real truth? The real truth is the knowledge of how to get out of the material body, which is the source of all trouble. Lord Kapila's incarnations or descent is especially meant for this purpose. That is clearly stated here. So Sankhya philosophy, it's basically this chapter number 2 of Bhagavad Gita. So Kapil Dev, when he starts speaking to the Mother Devhuti and he will give all this knowledge. So this is what he is telling his father, that my purpose of appearance is to give this Sankhya philosophy, to make sure that people get free from the entanglement of unnecessary material desires. Just thinking of how this universe is made of, all the material elements that are there, and everything that we see is just a permutation and combination of these material elements, which is basically only energy, and it will just poof, go away. And what are we so attached to? We get attached to this body when the body will not remain. How it is, we have read to a certain extent how the creation takes place and how all the tattvas, they come together and make everything that we see. And we get enamored by this. And this is what Sankhya philosophy does. It just removes any kind of unnecessary attachment to the material world. And finally, to attach one to Krishna, to the Supreme Lord. So this is the real Sankhya philosophy, because ultimately it leads to devotional service. The other Sankhya philosophies don't get attached, but then do what? It doesn't tell you that. So the real truth is knowledge of how to get out of the material body, which is a source of all trouble. And Kardamuni has already understood everything. So he says, I just want to go get out and set an example for everybody to follow also. So we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, so you all have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.